Was anyone here that saw basically the intro to Canopy Anchors? I saw one hand there. So basically, to repeat Craig real quickly, if you weren't here, I'm a firm believer in Canopy Anchors, not base anchors. Big thing is you can tie in smaller, you can tie in higher, and also you're not applying 2 times the force to your tie-in point opposed to when you base anchor. So I'm sure does anyone here climb SRS? All right, raise a hand, who does Canopy Anchors? Okay, who does base anchors? All right, so we got a mixed bag here. First 3 people, what are your biggest issues with Canopy Anchors? Isolating? Isolating sucks. Getting the rope back. That's the big thing I hear from a lot of guys is how do I get it back down, or I like doing a bunch of redirects. I'm able to still work a whole tree in a large oak or maple with a large spread and hit just as many redirects as somebody with a base high and still be able to retrieve it. So I'm going to run through here now and basically show you where Craig left off and a couple disadvantages of that and move into situations where I like using canopy ties that can retrieve easier than that. If we do have some time, I got a couple single line redirects that are retrievable I can show you guys if you guys want to see those. So we're just kind of hammer through these. I'm going to show you some of the disadvantages and the advantages. Earlier, Craig showed everybody the simple alpine butterfly to send it up. I'm sure you guys have all done this before. And like Craig was showing, you're going to have rope on rope friction coming down, especially when you start getting a couple redirects there. So then he showed you the Texas tug, where you put the pulley below it. So the simplest way that I like to move on from this is called a floating ring. So a lot of times if you're doing this, when you install your line, before you pull your line up, you're just going to take a ring. I prefer a small ring. I think they orient a lot better. You can use a big ring too. So if you had your line going up, drop this on your line, tie it on your throw line, pull it up. If you have a long line, a high tie-in or something, it's not the end of the world to just put it at the bottom of here. You can pull it up here. And just like Craig was showing you guys before in an earlier demonstration, this is where it gets complicated. We're going to put it in the ring. One more time. We're cooking with gas here, boys, so see the ring? There we go. I think we got it. All right. We're going to tie the alpine butterfly below it. We like the way that orients, and we like the way it cinches against it. And then like Craig showed, we're going to back it up with the carabiner. A lot of people like to catch the falling end with the rope. That's ideal too. If you know the way that you're orienting against the tree up top, try to keep the gate away from it. And we're going to send that up there. And basically, the alpine butterfly is choking against our ring there, creating our tie-in point. So if we were tying on a normal system or just a normal generic alpine butterfly and running it up here, we all go out and get redirects. We got to work around a canopy. So the problem is, every time we redirect, we eventually hit a point on that redirect, which I'm sure you guys all hate canopy ties, right? You got to start pulling down on the rope. It's going to start fighting us here. The more and more redirects we have, it's just going to keep fighting. You can see that bend, how we're having to pull it down here. That's giving us all of our friction and issues with it. By using a ring up here, I'm going to try to show it up a little bit higher here, just so you can see it a little better. The ring is going to basically float there to the path of most resistance. So it's just going to sit there so we're not having to fight the bend in the rope. We start pulling down the belly of the rope here. That's when we're getting all of our friction. We're just hanging out here, no friction, no problem. Big thing when installing this, you can see how we're bending on the left side of the rope here, or your guys' right side of the ring. You're always going to have it oriented a certain way depending which way your butterfly is going up. Make sure that's the side of the tree you're going out and working on. If you're crossed on it, you're still going to have some rope on rope friction. So it's just a little bit of rope management and an extra second of thinking down on the ground there. But by doing this here, once we reach a certain point with it, our tail's going to come through, and they're going to start working its way back down to us. we can pull it back out here. Does that make sense to everyone there? So that's pretty much the simplest way that I like to build upon an alpine butterfly or the Texas tug. Like Craig was showing earlier too, a very simple way is to send a running bowline up to the top of the tree. Because you all are watching, I'm gonna mess this throw up. Nailed it. So, running bowline to the top of the tree is super simple. It's the best way. This is basically what I'm gonna show you, been my go-to the last few months here. Tie it, and because like Tilford was saying earlier, we need to have it backed up. I prefer an overhand on it. We're gonna send it up. That's our tie-in. Disadvantage to this is that now we can't retrieve it. If we get in a situation like Craig was talking about, we got bees, we got a cavity, something like that, we're not gonna be able to retrieve our line. So let's hope for the best if we're doing this situation here. But basically, set up a single line system, whatever you climb on. I'm gonna use a rope wrench here just because I'm not sure his splice at the end there will fit through a zigzag. Why I like doing this is because a lot of times I can't hit the highest shot first try, just like Mark Smith over there. So, and a lot happens to us all the time. So I'm a big just go get it done. I'm gonna take any shot I can get. If I'm within 10, 15 feet of the union, I'm just gonna take it. I'm gonna go up there. Obviously, I have to be isolated here to use this technique. But once I go up, I'm gonna show you how I quickly switch it over to a canopy tie up top, and I'm gonna use a friction saver up there. So in order to use this scenario here, I'm gonna have to bring a friction saver up with me. I also bring a retrieval line, and there's a reason for that. You can go up there, and if you don't have a retrieval line, it's no big deal. If you go up there, you're gonna have to tail the tail of your rope through the friction saver, which is just taking more time away from working the tree. So if you reach your tie-in point here, you feel comfortable, and you're able to then install your friction saver. We'll pick a union, for example. Let's say that's a bigger union that's up higher than us. We're going to move over to it there. If I was hanging, and we'll go over this tomorrow over at the test tree if you guys are going to come by. Simply by taking my lanyard, switching it to my upper Ds here, my lower Ds, I'm able to pull up and sit in my suspension. So I'm not sitting on my D-rings there, so I can be comfortable aloft here. But once I'm fully weighted in my system here, I can take this down. If I had to reach up higher, I'm just simulating here, this is another 10 feet higher or so. You can take this out, visually inspect a higher tie-in and a higher, smaller union, make sure that everything's solid up there and that I feel comfortable with it. I'm going to take my climbing line and put it through the big ring and then the small ring. And then I'm going to take my access line, or my retrieval line, I should say, and tie it on. I prefer a double fisherman for this. It has been tested, and it does not go through the rings. It breaks under the proper strength. So it's a suitable knot for this situation here. If you do have, two splice ends, I wouldn't just clip them together. You shouldn't have metal on metal pushing like that. Do tie a knot. So what we have here now is our system. Now we're stopped up against our friction saver. And like anything in tree work, once I'm changing my systems, I'm going to fully weight my new system, move over to it. Once I'm in it, I can remove my lanyard. And come back down. So now I have a canopy anchor, but I have zero friction up there. So I can go about working about the tree. Travis Vickerson's limb walk. And I'm gonna go up higher here now to simulate another redirect so we can get a better example of it higher. So we move across the canopy of the tree. We're gonna get a redirect like normal. You know, a lot of times we're just taking natural crotch redirects. I'm gonna throw it through. Once again, fully weighting my system before I take off my old system. And complete the tree here. So now, like before, we have a canopy tie, but instead of having it cinched with anything like that, we have a friction saver up there. So we got a couple ways of retrieving this here. Has everyone used a friction saver? So what are the two ways we can retrieve it? Come on. Retrieve a ball in a knot. What else can we use so we don't let the friction saver hit the ground? Throw line. We can use both situations here just like that. We're retrieving a friction saver just like we were climbing MRS. So given the ground we got here, I'm not too worried about it hitting the ground. So we're just going to use a retrieval ball here. If I can find it. We'll pull it through. And you can see here, we have no belly of the rope at all, nor do we even have a ring that has to float. We have only friction that's working through the tree here is whatever we have for our redirects. So, you know, the beauty of doing this is we're able to advance our tie-in with a lower spot, not have to spend all that time getting the higher tie-in. And the biggest thing I think is that we're able to visually inspect and double check what we're tying in. I know all of you guys, just like myself, I've climbed up there and realized I'm tied in around a 1-inch sucker because I took a 95-foot high shot. Even though I had a 70-foot shot with a bunch of scaffolding, I could have just stood up. I could have just double lanyarded, thrown my system. The other beauty too is if you're going to work this system and go up higher and you're tying with the running bowline up there, you could untie it right there and use your single line system in an MRS setting like that too to monkey fist up quicker. And then that's just going to retrieve like a normal throw line, like a normal friction saver. So there's a lot of benefits to that one. The easiest way to kind of go about it, I think, is the floating ring. I'm a firm believer in it. You just got to watch out for the orientation there. And the biggest thing here is that we're mitigating rope on rope friction and the amount of belly that we have to pull down from the line. And there's a few other ways that I can show you real quick. If you do get in a situation where you do have to pull that down, I'm going to try to throw the rope over twice right now. So you better bet I'm going to mess up at least once. Watch yourself. Bear with me here. Has anyone ever got too many redirects and you don't know what to do? Trying to pull it out with the base tie or canopy tie? What do you guys do? Throw line. Throw line. All right. You guys don't put a skid steer on it and rip it out? We don't do that. Don't do it. So let's say this is our, this is what we just went across. This is our whole tree. We have a large belly of the rope here. So if you do use your throw line to do it, how do you go about doing that? And then what? Just pull it right down? Okay. So that is a great way of doing it. Did everyone hear what he said? So you went through this whole tree. We got 5 redirects that way, 3 this way. We got a large belly of the rope in the middle here, and we can't pull it out. I got 2 that way, 3 that way, whatever. But I have this big belly here, wide open shot, and by reducing 2 or 3 of the redirects we took, we're going to then easily be able to pull it out, even on a base tie when we took too many. So what he's saying is to take a friction or a throw ball and throw it over. Kind of coming at you guys, so heads up in case it's a wonky throw. So the problem with this is it's rope on rope friction, especially when we got 2 or 3 redirects going out there. We might have to put hundreds and hundreds of pounds of friction on this. Have you ever guys watched on YouTube how quick a throw line can cut through a rope? If you haven't, check it out. If you have an old rope or a throw line, try it yourself. Put your full body weight in it and saw it. It'll go through the rope in the matter of seconds. So you're going to damage the rope by doing it this way. So a super quick, simple way to retrieve it safely would be to add a pulley to it. So you can take your throw ball off. I start with, you can take, if you have a shorter shot like this and you don't have both ends of the rope, you can just girth hitch on midline your throw line here. So we have one end of the throw line with the pulley on it. And then I'm going to tie on the other side here as well. Girth hitches usually hold fine. I don't know if you guys use girth hitches on your throw lines, but if you do, I like to leave a longer tail on them because they do like to work their way out unless you're going to tie a backup knot for it. So once we have this installed here, we got 2 ends of the rope here. I'm able to pull it up here, and you can see I can flip it on. So now I have a pulley pulling this down. I'm not going to have any rope on rope damage there. We'll pull this down. Theoretically, I just removed 2 or 3 of my redirects out there. Nice open shot, hit it first try. I got 2 redirects over here. There's no problem pulling that through. So that's another simple way if you get yourself caught in a bind there by using too many redirects. Because there are times with the canopy tie, even using rings and stuff like that, that you're not going to be able to get it out. So this is a super simple way to pull it out without damaging your ropes. And moving on from that there are a couple other canopy tie things, like I think his name was Matt that just showed us before in the Petzl unboxing. There is the Petzl Eject. So I'm going to also demonstrate that. I'm going to show it down lower here so we don't have to go back up there again. But on the Petzl Eject, same premise as what I was showing before. You can't install this from the ground, unlike a friction saver. So what we can do is we can go up, we can inspect the tree and install this and advance our tie-in. Make sure that we're not tying in anything stupid like we've all done before. Cinch it up to where I need it to be. Let me pull this rope real quick, just watch yourself. And then, same thing as he was doing before, we're going to feed the rope through, and we're going to just tie a stopper knot on this. The stopper knot is just going to jam against the system, just like, stopper knot's going to jam against the Petzl Eject here, and we're going to be able to work the tree and do the same thing, just like that with the friction saver. Like Matt was talking about before, a benefit of this, though, is that when we do pull it out, when you use the retrieval ball, is that it's going to pop out and we don't have the 2 rings up higher. Because I'm sure anyone here that's climbed MRS has tried to pull the friction saver out before. It gets stuck in a tight union and something like that. So we can retrieve this with the throw line, just like a normal friction saver. It'll pop out, and we don't have any hardware of any size above it. We just have this straight coming out. We don't have to worry about a ring and ring getting stuck in a tight union anywhere. Does that make sense to everyone? Single line redirects. Who's done them? Who uses them? What do you guys do? Some stuff with some things. I love doing stuff and things. That's my jam. So there's a couple single line redirects out there. There's a couple to stay clear of from. There are basically self-tightening knots that you see on YouTube with guys using that I would recommend staying away from, because when you use those, what ends up happening is the second you unweight your system, if you know about it, it comes undone. So don't get on the YouTube and use the Matterhorn. It's definitely a bit suspect. But let me get another system tied on here real quick. I'm just going to show you guys these two things to finish it up. These are two things I've become a big fan of also. Let me climb up here real quick. So if you guys can see me here, leaning back here, we've all been in this situation where we have to get around a union or it's a small lateral or something. So let's imagine here we're on a limb, we're walked out, and this is nothing but a 2-3 inch sucker. Well, we're gonna have to pass our system around here. Problem with that is, I know we've all done it, we lanyard in on it. And we're like, yeah, I'm good, I can balance here. Yeah, things happen, you know? So sometimes that doesn't always work out. So being able to stay in line when you're out there, I use the rescue center here on an adjustable. I can stay in line, tensioned on my system here. So now I can slack my system here, pass it around whatever obstacle there may be, come back on, then I can slack my system here, tension this, remove that. So now I've been able to pass around that limb there or a union or something. I didn't have to be worried about lanyarding into something small there. I will lanyard in on something small here to wrap this up to show you pretty much the only retrievable single line redirect I use. So a lot of us don't have a lot of gear, so I like to try to keep stuff as simple as I can with the least amount of gear, and usually stuff that's in my bag. So I made this thing up a couple of years ago for a retrievable one. Everybody's got old INIs or just INIs in general, or a couple carabiners. So if we came out here and I wanted finished up the tree, I didn't want to go back up, I couldn't get back through that crotch again, I basically just take an INI with 2 carabiners. I clip one to the top of my rope here, and I clip the other here. So basically this is essentially the same thing I'm sure you guys have used with loop runners and stuff like that. We're redirected here. The thing with this though is if we take the tail of our rope and clip it back up through the bottom one here, this is going to be able to allow us to get this out. The one downfall, a couple downfalls to this is, one, to retrieve this is you're going to need 3 times the length of the rope that we're going down, which I'm not sure we have right now. So hopefully we do for demonstration purposes. The other is you have to remove your system to retrieve this. So it's ideal to do this for long limb walk at the end of the tree, wrapping up a tree, or if you're not on a non-midline attachable device. So if we come down here, still have this here. I can take off my system. And it's so simple because we all have this gear here. So that's what I really enjoy about it, is that anyone can do it. You don't have to go out and get fancy gear. Make sure your ropes are oriented properly here. So this is how we clipped it back up through the bottom there. We're going to pull up the tail of our rope here. It's going to come through the bottom, leaving only the top part captured still, so that can then pull out and come down to us. So we had to take our system off for that. We needed 3 times the length of the rope to retrieve it. So works well for the end of the tree, or if you have a device that's quick to go on and off, the akimbo, the rope runner, stuff like that, guys flip them on and off, so it works well for that. And then we're at the base of the tree, so in a situation like that where I could do that and pull that off, yeah, it's sweet. I just had the alpine butterfly up there. I finished up where I started. I can quickly retrieve it down, and that's that. Is there any questions on anything, comments, or concerns?